What's up YouTube? Today we're going to be installing Ubuntu 17.04 64-bit on HyperV on Windows 10 Pro. I'm using HyperV because it's baked into Windows 10 Pro and I think it's a mature and enterprise grade hypervisor solution. So let's get started really. If you want to install HyperV you have to have Windows 10 Pro. You can install it via PowerShell, or you can use add remove programs, add remove Windows features and select HyperV, restart your machine and away you go, you've got HyperV installed. So let's get started. So in Open HyperV Manager, I've noticed on Windows 10 here we got this new Quick Create button which can actually quick create a virtual machine, but I'm actually going to go through the old way of doing it. So when you first fire up HyperV Manager, one thing you should do is create yourself a virtual switch. I've created a virtual switch on my external network card which accesses my local LAN and internet solution, or my router should I say. This is going through my killer Ethernet adapter. I've called it external LAN, external Ethernet adapter. I'm not going to get into internal networks, private networks or VLANs. If you'd like me to do another video on that and show you that working, please like, subscribe, comment below, and we'll get to that into the future. So I've got my external LAN, it's attached to my gigabit LAN controller, so we're good to go. So I'm going to create the virtual VM itself. This is basically just a configuration file effectively that dictates CPU, memory, hard drive, etc. Right click on my machine, new virtual machine. You get the little wizard come up here. Let's call it Ubuntu. Now this is interesting. So generation 1 is BIOS led machines, old style with legacy hardware. It's compatible with a number of different Linux distributions and older operating system versions. So it supports 32-bit, 64-bit guest operating systems, and has that legacy hardware that I was talking about, and is BIOS based. It doesn't support secure booting, encrypted VM files either. Generation 2 has UEFI based, which is the same as any new modern laptops or desktop PCs or server architecture. Supports secure boot, encrypted trusted platform modules and encrypted hard drives such as BitLocker, and many other aspects really. So it's more modern hardware as well. So for the hard disk controller it's SCSI based rather than IDE based in generation 1. But for compatibility with most Linux distributions, I'm going to pick a generation 1 for the ease of use here with this installation. So we're going to pick generation 1. I'm going to give my virtual machine 4 GB of RAM. HyperV's got dynamic memory, which is kind of like a ballooning function, so it allows the virtual machine to go over its allocated memory limit. We can change that in the settings later, but for now I'm just going to leave it as it is. And I'm going to connect the virtual machine's network card to the external LAN that we created earlier, or that I showed you earlier. And I'm going to create a virtual hard disk file for the actual virtual machine. So this is where the operating system will actually get installed to. And I'm going to plop it onto an external SSD drive that I have. We'll just call this Ubuntu VM, and I'll make it 15 gig. That should be enough to install Ubuntu. Now I'm going to pick the ISO. So I have the ISO sitting on my desktop. You should use an ISO repository, but that's a topic for another day. Okay, so we have our virtual machine. Now I'm going to connect to it just by double clicking, and I'm going to go ahead and start. Hit enter, enter again. I'm going to go straight to install Ubuntu. in the center of the screen there. Okay, so here we have the Ubiquiti Ubuntu installer. Go ahead and select English or your native language. I'm not going to install updates. We can do that afterwards. It will take longer. I want to show you a few things after it's installed. We're going to install the third-party software for graphics, Wi-Fi, Flash, MP3 and other media. This basically gives Linux the ability to play any audio or MP3 virtually out of the box, and most websites will work without problem. In the old days it was a right pain to get that working. A lot of command line, a lot of terminal, bit of a pain, so I'm very happy for this these days. Okay, I'm not going to get into encrypted volumes or logical virtual volume management, shall I say. We're just going to go ahead and install Ubuntu. Going to keep defaults. It's going to be an extended 4 formatted drive. Now it knows I'm in London based off my public IP address that my external network is connected to. If I didn't have this connected, it would put me in America, in New York I think, and all the subsequent screens would be in USA. Thankfully it's all set to English. I'm going to create my username. I can name my machine if I want to, but I'll just keep it as that. Username, just make a basic password. I suggest you use something more secure. And we're not going to encrypt my home folder or log in automatically, we're going to require a password. Right, so I'll let this run and let it install, and I'll come back once it's got through the installer. That looks good. Ooh. Okay. Okay, so I actually had to kill the machine and well, turn it off and turn it back on again. So the usual IT way. So let's start it back up. Okay, so we're at our login prompt. Log in with the password we set up during the install. There we go, we've got a fully functioning Ubuntu desktop. Let's just make sure we can go on the internet. Yep, it's connected to Google. Let's just check the Ubuntu shop. Lovely. Now I'd recommend that you go ahead and update your operating system. And if you click on the software updater there, we can go ahead and do that. You can also do it via the terminal, but we'll just let the application do it right now. And if you see there's all these updates that we can do, 195 meg, and literally just go ahead and do install now, and once that's done you've got a fully workable, secure, safe Ubuntu installation that you can test out, play around with. You can go on some websites that you wouldn't want to go on on Windows just in case. If you've got anything dodgy downloaded or anything like that, it would be siloed in this virtual machine. It wouldn't be able to escape out and go to anything else. So it's a good way of maybe browsing it a bit more securely if you want to. But anyway, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks a lot.